Right, we've got 5 young adults here that range between 19 and 28. All of them have a diagnosis of autism. They're on various aspects of the spectrum, if you will. So we've got some service users that are non-verbal, some service users that are very verbal, and we've got some service users that need some sort of physical support in certain areas.
I've got a little brother that's got cerebral palsy, global theometric delay and curvature of the spine. And yeah, just basically growing up, it's always been he's in and out of hospital, he's had to have different treatments, people come out and see him. So it's kind of one of the things that you get used to seeing, you're learning things from what's happening with him. And I don't know, I guess it just turned me into the person I am today that can do this job.
I was in the army for 15 years. I left the army and I was a bodyguard with the Sergeant Royal family for 8 years. I had a friend that was looking after, an ex-soldier friend of mine who was looking after an elderly gentleman in Cambridge, an ex-professor. So I sort of like started to fill in that role, and I was just sort of looking after him on a sort of a monthly basis sort of thing. His needs increased, then it became a full-time job. Then he passed away and I was at a bit of a loss, and someone who was very close to him said, why don't you do it as another career path? So that's how I ended up in care.
I was actually in the armed forces, in the Navy, and I just wanted to work with people. I had a relative that had autism and I got on quite well with them. It sort of floated my boat and I thought I need to go down that route when I leave. And you know, it's 38 years that I thoroughly enjoyed. You know, I mean, I retired in 4 years, and I'm going to miss it. You know, I'm going to miss it.
I wake up every day and want to come to work. Even on my days off, I'll like phone up and be like, do you need anybody today? And I just love it. I just love being here. The atmosphere is great, and knowing that I can make a difference in the service users' lives by letting them fulfill it is great.
I'm going to miss the relationship. Some of the things that happen, some of the things that occur, can be so rewarding, can actually fill you up, can make you laugh, can make you cry.
Just being able to give the service users the chance at a normal life, really. Being able to go out into the community and do whatever they want, just seeing the smiles on the faces and, yeah, just making them happy.
We can give you the tools. We can teach you about autism or whatever sort of diagnosis you're working with. We can give you the training, you can get the MBQs, and you just apply and build yourself up. But I think initially the first thing you need is that caring attitude. You know, we call the care service and that's what we do, we care.
I thought it was more elderly type and things like that. I never really thought of like the disability aspects of it and that. But ever since like coming here, and it's definitely opened my eyes that there is a lot more to care than just like people thinking it's elderly. It's a massive wide variety. My perceptions of it was like it was going to be elderly, and then when they were saying like, oh, it's challenging behaviour, I thought it was going to be like incident after incident every single day, but it's really none of that. The job is great, and if anybody is to get into care and they come into this side of it, it's absolutely amazing. They will literally love it.
And a warm welcome to Debbie for her first meeting. I'll just pause for 10 seconds to make certain it's going live. I've got a thumb up there, so we're ready to go live then. Thank you. Hope you all got the agendas in front of you. Agenda item 1, minutes of last meeting, 26th of January. You don't need to vote, just ask you if you're happy with what there is in front of you. Okay, lots of nods. And item 2, apologies for absence. Sarah?
No, we're all present and correct.
Gosh. Well, yeah. Declarations of interest, item 3. Do any members or officers present have any disclosure of pecuniary interest to declare? And/or do any members or officers present have any private interest, pecuniary or non-pecuniary, to declare? Nope. Thank you. Item 4. We'll introduce the report and formally move the recommendations on page 10 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder?
Happy second, Chairman.
Thank you. A very warm welcome to Julie.
Thank you, Councillor.
Nice to meet you recently. We'll come on to that a bit later, but I'll ask you to present your report now. Julie.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, members. You will obviously recall that the Business Support Programme has been an ongoing programme of efficiency for some time, and that year on year we bring our revised structure to this committee for approval. Since 2015, we've been delivering significant cash flow efficiency savings through our culture of continuous improvement, and this year is no exception, with a further £263,000 due to be deducted from our budgets on the 1st of April 2022, as set out under paragraphs 10 and 11 of this report. Members will be aware that we've adopted a process of reviewing the way in which we deliver our services in close collaboration with our key stakeholders, and that throughout the pandemic, we've continued to ensure that critical business support activities which underpin operational delivery have been maintained. We continue to act as digital development champions and enablers for change, and as vacancies arise, we always take the opportunity to explore alternative and better ways to get the job done. This ensures that in identifying any posts to be deleted from our structure, there is no detrimental impact for our frontline colleagues. With regard to the proposal to implement digital receptions within our outlying office sites, as outlined under paragraphs 11 to 17 of the report, we have identified redeployment opportunities for any staff adversely affected by this project within our central services teams. Essentially, what we will be doing is asking those staff to continue the work that they've been doing throughout the pandemic whilst our buildings have been unoccupied. But we would wish to reassure members that we will continue to provide transitionary arrangements for the digital reception project whilst we explore new technologies and whilst these are implemented. The project, of course, being managed by our property services, ICT and investing in Nottinghamshire colleagues. As such, I would ask members to approve the revised business support structure as set out within Appendix A of my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julie. Before we open it up, can I just ask Councillor Wheeler to come?
Yeah, Julie, just want to touch on the visit myself and the chairman had at I think it was 2 weeks ago now, wasn't it, at the Sherwood Energy Village. I think it was great to meet the team. Some members of your team I know who can meet were there, and the amount of work that you actually do, I think, is we surprised a lot of members actually, just because obviously it's silently working maybe to do the work, and perhaps we haven't shouted loudly enough in the past about the work that your team do. So that's something I know we talked about going forwards. But I think just on behalf of the committee, just say thank you for everything that your team has done. Please pass the feedback back that we really appreciate. Things like at the start, the adaptability to get the technology out to people to keep working at home and to suddenly the change of way of working, which I know your team was instrumental in doing. Obviously, make sure we keep delivering our services, so we really appreciate that. And again, the change you've gone through, I think going through the reports and the conversation we had, you've had a lot of deletion of posts, a lot of change around, obviously people on fixed term contracts for a while while we're doing this piece of work, and the positives you've seen from your team and doing the work is a credit to you and to the management there. So to say our thanks again, and thank you much for all your support.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. May I add my thanks to Julie, and thank you for a very busy morning. It certainly was that. It left me absolutely shattered by the time I left. No, thank you. Right, now if I open up a debate. Please, go for it.
I don't entirely agree with paragraph 11, because I know a lot of people who've not been out for the past 2 years, and a lot of them would be too what shall I say, too shy to phone up and say whatever were wrong. And if they've asked the relatives or good friends to do things for them, it's an embarrassment to them because they're older people that are ones that would go to a centre and ask for things. We just had a little tea party last week for local people who've been inside for two years and they couldn't get over it. You know, they were, oh, thanks for having us here. We had a singer come. They all would play, holding hands round table. They were all so grateful. They went next day to coffee morning and paid £5 for a cup of coffee. You know, and to say that they can't see a person in person is a bit cruel. That's how that's how I feel on my side of it. And if they ask the relatives and friends, it's an embarrassment, isn't it? Sorry.
Sorry, do you want to do that now, Judy? Would you rather have all the responses first? By all means, whichever you're more comfortable with. Helen.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I've got some concerns around point 11 on page 8 as well. A lot of people that use these services are ones that are less able. And I think taking away a physical presence in the reception is going to be daunting for a lot of people. I know you said that there's going to be some sort of transition period, but not everyone's savvy with technology, and people do get daunted by it. I can understand the theory behind it, but I think by taking people away full stop, then I think that's going to cause a bit of an issue, especially in some of these centres. Like, I've just been looking at the specifics around Lawnview House, and some of the users that will be using Lawnview House, for example, they are some of the people that I think would have a problem, because it's people that have been helped to restart their lives. They're being helped learn how to dress and things, some of the stuff that I've been reading. So they're the sort of people that aren't going to be necessarily comfortable using technology. They want to see a physical person. So I echo Sheila, I've got some real concerns around that. Thank you.
Thank you, and hopefully when Judy speaks again, we'll address those concerns you've got. One, in fact, I know she will address those concerns you've got. Errol?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'd follow on from Sheila's comments and also from Councillor Helen Handsmith comments as well. People look online because they have no choice during the pandemic, I think. And but that's not to say that it's still the best way of doing things going forward. And we probably should question the assumptions that we're having that this is the new norm. Most people appreciate the opportunity to pop into buildings, and equally, most people don't like dealing with computers because sometimes the computer says no, and they like sometimes to just meet somebody instead of just online or on the online, they call it chatbot, that sort of thing. People don't always like that. So paragraph 14, there's an assumption there that those working in buildings should be able to greet and deal with visitors. It's short-sighted, I think, in this case. And for many people, digitalization is still a barrier and shouldn't be the only option, I don't think. So to ensure the continuation of a friendly and welcoming reception staff at these buildings for sort of £80,000, I think we probably need to look at that again.
Okay, thank you, Errol.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I know Judy will be covering this off anyway. I think it's just worth getting the point in there. I think there's slight confusion between the customer service function and the business support function. So the customer service function remains unaffected in terms of people who are coming here or to ring up on and speak to the customer service team. The business support service would rarely have visitors drop in terms of unannounced like they would do the customer service desk here. It's more for pre-arranged appointments. So I know Helen touched on people such as the looked after people. We have the welfare meeting. They're always practicing there to meet them, and there's more likely someone going to be accompanying them anyway from our team anyway, but there would always be someone there. The key is with the digital receptions is that it's for the very, very few people who are there who haven't got anyone straight away to meet there. use that reception and alert the person to come and see them. But I think 99% of various people will be there to meet someone, particularly there, and that's why it says in point 14 where there will be someone to come down to meet them and go forward. So the focus on the customer service is still there with the customer service team, but just having a manned reception where there is someone who's going to come down and meet that person anyway, because the receptionist will 9 times out of 10 ring up and say, oh, so and so's here, come down. Where that person knows got the meeting will instead just go straight to reception and wait for said person. We saw that when we were met, where we had to flag us down because the sign was temporarily down in October. So I'm driving up and down the road, and know where we're going for 10 minutes. But anyway, who came down and flagged us down the road and brought us in. And we saw that where there were a couple of other people down there in the office waiting for people to come in. So I know, Julie, I think that's important just to make that distinction, that we're not trying to say that we're no one there to meet people. It's actually the opposite, where there will still be someone to meet there, but just by having someone permanently positioned at the bottom of that office for the sake of £80,000 that we'd spend to have someone sat there when, in fact, that money could be better spread across services, I think it's a really important point to get across.
Thanks, John. That's very helpful. Julie, unless anyone else, no. Right, Julie, it's all yours.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. I think you've covered a few of the points I was going to make. I want to reassure colleagues and members that when we embarked on this piece of work, we did some analysis of the number of people that were dropping into these types of offices. I suppose what you've got to bear in mind, it doesn't include the County Hall campus, that's completely separate. So we're talking about those major offices that we've detailed in the report. They're quite often off the beaten track. They're not easy places for people to just go to. You've got to really want to go there or have an appointment or a need to go to these sites. And when we analysed the number of drop-in kind of visits, they were minimal. So in Sir John Robinson Way, even pre-pandemic, in approximately 6 months, we'd had 8 people dropping into that site. Most of the people that we arranged to go to those offices go by a prior appointment. So that could be because they're a client within Child Protection Service, they might need to go for a conference, it might be a looked after child that you're doing an arranged meeting for, or it might be contractors. Those visitations, we know, we expect them, and the operational practitioners are ready to greet them, as Councillor Louise has explained. So on that basis, when we put forward our savings proposals, we sort of suggested that we will still have people behind the scenes. We are still scoping the technology. I think it's fair to say that Marge and colleagues and I have talked about not just a screen, but possibly a telephone in those reception points, so that if people aren't particularly comfortable with the screen per se, they can pick up the phone, they can dial a number, and there will be somebody there if they're not already, as Councillor Wheeler said, waiting for that person to arrive. So hopefully that will give you some reassurance that we've looked at all the facts and figures, and we felt that this was a reasonable proposal, but we will still have people behind the scenes to help if they are needed.
Thank you, Julie. I know you want to come back, did you? Please do, Helen.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thank you for that, Julie. And I appreciate what you're saying, but I've still got some concerns around that. Because, for example, just taking Lawnview House, because that's the one that I know, it's on a main road, it's very clearly visible. You know, whenever you go past it, the car park's always full, there's always people around. And I know that we've done school appeals and things like that through Lawnview House. All it takes is for a previous meeting to overrun, someone stuck downstairs, they don't know what to do, they don't understand how it's going on. I mean, we trialled a similar system in Ashfield a few years ago. Well, we didn't introduce it, we changed it, but where we had a phone for people to talk to someone from housing repair, so they weren't based as part of the customer service, and it completely failed. We took it away and brought the people back into the building because it didn't work. People just got confused, they got upset, it just didn't work. So I can't support this because I have got massive concerns that this is going to backfire on us. I'm sorry, but
No, Helen, you must speak as you feel. No. Of course you must.
I'm just
Sheila.
thinking now that people are coming out because they feel safe enough to do so for next, I don't know how long, they're wanting to get to know more. Is there anything that they've missed out on? Is there anybody that can help them with the wife or the children? And they don't want to talk on a phone. A lot of people I know haven't even got a mobile phone. They don't have computers. And if anybody's got Alzheimer's or dementia or anything, you've got no chance of them taking themselves anywhere. And if they've got no relatives, who's going to help them? Will you be doing visits to their homes and things like that in place? We're going to get referrals, aren't we, through us?
Thank you, Excuse me, I'll bring Martin at this point.
I just want to reiterate a couple of points, and it builds on Councillor Wheely's point. These are not our face-to-face customer service points. These are our these are at office buildings. So where people are going, they're going to visitor social workers, sort of activities that Julie's outlined. There will still be social workers in the building. There will still be CCOs in the building. There will still be admin staff in the building, able to deal with any inquiries or issues that people have got. We're just not letting somebody sit on the reception for 37 hours a week for 8 potential contacts in a 6-month period. All that will happen is someone will come down to them. They might have to wait a minute while that person comes down to them, and they'll still get the same service.
As Jonathan said earlier on, and as Julie has alluded to as well, having visited the centre and spoken to quite a number of staff who joined us for that meeting, it was impressive, and certainly I was very surprised, but delightedly so, how well all your staff engaged with everything going forward. So I'm assuming, Julie, what you have in front of you has been discussed and has the buy-in of the people working there as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So we give you that reassurance as well. It's not something we've dreamt up between us, or it has got the buy-in. If I hadn't seen it for myself as Jonathan had the other day, we probably wouldn't have understood, which is why, having spoken to Julie before the meeting started, but Jonathan and I planned several more visits to meet as many different people as we can within the business structure. So please be assured, we hear what you say. We're not asking you, you must vote whichever you see fit. But please trust us on this. We're not isolating would-be customers from face-to-face meetings. We're not doing that at all. Thank you. If there's no further discussion on that, we will, in that case, go to the vote. Okay. Please raise your hand for all those who are in support of the recommendation in front of you. Just to repeat, that's at page 10. Support. Right. Thank you. Those against? Okay, thank you. Abstentions? All that, Sarah? Happy with that. Well, thank you very much for your time. And thank you, Julie, for the presentation as well. You're welcome to stay, listen to the rest of the discussions this afternoon, or if you've got other things to do, we fully understand. You stay up. Of course it's all right, absolutely. Thank you. Item 5, review of the Council's recruitment practice and procedures. Now, right at the beginning, before I introduce the item and go on to a discussion and debate, I remind you this item has been before full council. It was an exempt item before full council. Please do not have this debate here today about what the rights and wrong. It's been dealt with. Had a full airing at full council. We acknowledged there were mistakes were made. We do understand that, of course we do. But this report is addressing the way forward. Again, it was raised at full council. We've listened to what was said at full council, and we brought a report before you today. So please be aware, and this is going to a live stream, so please respect that. Thank you. Right, Jonathan. On page 17 of the agenda pack is the recommendation. Do I have a seconder?
I have a second, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Jill, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. As Councillor Wheeler's just alluded, this report and the review arose out of debate at full council in November around our recruitment practice and procedures, and the review was commissioned by Anthony May, the Head of Paid Services. In seeking to address one particular issue, it provided a further opportunity to look at a number of issues in our current recruitment procedures. And this has proved really beneficial because members will recall, both in terms of discussions around the people strategy, the skills development and employment opportunity strategy, the work around disability confident leader, and our various action plans, that recruitment and retention is one of the greatest challenges currently facing the County Council in seeking to recruit and retain the right calibre of candidates to enable us to deliver on the ambitions set out in the Nottinghamshire Plan. So I welcome the opportunity to have a look at that and to work with colleagues in Sarah's area at the BSc. So we're looking not just at policy and process, but also the system. And some of those system changes are in train, but haven't yet been made yet. So it's an ongoing piece of work, and I'm sure there'll be other opportunities to update members on where we are as we progress the work. The recruitment challenges, as mentioned before, aren't just in the traditional areas that we've previously experienced, like child protection, social work and advanced mental health practitioners. It's across the board in areas such as Julie's services, where we haven't previously experienced any difficulty at all in recruiting entry-level candidates. So it's really important that not only do we look at our systems and how we present ourselves to candidates, but we instill in our managers the importance of how they recruit people into their services, because increasingly candidates are choosing us, we're not just choosing them. And even this morning at one of the launch events for the Leadership Development Programme, recruitment and retention were one of the key issues that people raised with us. So it's timely that we've undertaken this partial review, and as I say, it will be an ongoing piece of work and draw on the experiences of colleagues from across the whole council, because if somebody in place has got a great idea on how to attract people's specialist skills, we want to learn from that and benefit from that in all our service areas. In paragraph 4, I've outlined some of the particular issues that we're addressing as part of this review. And some of them may seem a little simple and behind the game, but just things like anonymising applications to remove bias from shortlisting processes. Taking on board the suggestions made to us by the Business Disability Forum in validating our submission for Disability Confident Leader. Reviewing where we place adverts, and Taraj Singh, our Equalities Officer, has done a piece of work around the language we use in adverts to try and again ensure that we're not putting unseen invisible barriers up to any candidates. We're linking the recruitment and vacancy protocols with the aspirations set out in the Nottinghamshire Plan and the People Strategy, wanting to maximise the benefits in the skills development and employment opportunities strategy. One of the things we want to do for entry-level roles is have a consistent approach to basic tests for literacy and numeracy, and this will be particularly important as we seek to grow our traineeships, so things like supported interns, because clearly there are roles that require a basic level of literacy and numeracy, but we want to be able to support people and then test people in a fair and consistent way. We want to review the commitments on an ongoing basis to the various charters and accreditations to ensure that we continue to deliver on those commitments. And when we meet next month, we will have a report around the work we've done on renewing our commitment to the British Sign Language Charter and how we can provide employment opportunities to people from our deaf communities. So that's something coming up in April. We also want to continue to explore examples of best practice and learn from other organisations that seem to be doing this well, possibly better than us, to check that there's not a trick we're missing, a thing we're not doing. And all of that is involved in how we build our relationships with our local universities, with our schools, so that when people are thinking about a career, the County Council is one of the first places that they think of, because whilst they may know some of what we do, I would suggest there's a range of opportunities that people have no idea that we present, and that a career is available within the County Council. Given that the review was a recommendation arising from a report to full council that was approved, there were no other options considered. But as I say, we will consider all options to improve our recruitment and retention practices. We want to be an employer of choice, and we've spoken only this morning again about developing a value proposition with our future and current workforce. And that's really important. And Di Brown here, as the recently appointed OD manager, is going to be working with me and colleagues across the organisation to develop that value proposition. So I think the remainder of the report is self-explanatory, so I'm happy to pause there and take any questions, Chair.
Thank you. Before I open up, I just add what Jill has just said. This morning's session, we got a lot of feedback from those who joined us online about the way we recruit and the way we retain our staff, and things we could do differently, things we could do better, things which we could improve upon. So Jonathan and I, as members who joined an online session this morning, said we want to listen to you. We do want to listen. We wouldn't have given up the time we gave this morning, and nor would officers if we didn't want to listen and invest an awful lot of money in a program which was approved by Personnel Committee after all. So what Jill has said is absolutely spot on. So it's an ongoing conversation we're having with our staff. If I open it up, please, anyone want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I've got a question first and then just a little thing that I wanted to say. On page 15...
sorry, you say 16?
15, sorry.
15, sorry, Helen.
Part 4, it says the initial anonymising, I can't say that.
I know, I struggle with it as well.
Yeah, of applications shortlisting purposes. Can you just explain that? I don't understand why we're doing that, what the benefit is to doing it, and if there is a benefit, why wasn't it done before? I just don't understand that one. And then if I can come in again after that too.
Of course.
We do some elements of it already, so there is an argument that if you can see the name of somebody and you have a particular bias, you may choose whether or not you shortlist that person. In fact, there's decided employment tribunal case law where people have applied for the same jobs using different names, and in some cases been shortlisted for interview and in other cases not. So that's one of the reasons. There is the opportunity to go further with this, so removing date of birth, because you might make an assumption on the age of somebody as to where they are in their career and why they're applying for a particular job. Now, clearly there's some elements that will be self-evident, but it's to try and remove any element and actually to build trust with communities where we may struggle to recruit from.
Do you want to come back on that, Helen, or are you happy with the answer given to you?
I'm happy with that answer, but I've just got one other thing, but I might take that back and use that at the district as well. That's why I was going with that. But the other thing I wanted to say is, Chair, I appreciate what you said at the beginning of this, so I will keep my comments very brief on that. But, you know, we welcome this review. You know, we know that there was failure to adhere to practices in the past, and it caused a difficult situation last year, forcing the Chief Executive to apologise. No doubt it did cause some damage to the reputation of the council, the timing of which was very unfortunate given the national climate with David Amos. But I just want to say a big thank you to the staff. You've done an excellent piece of work getting this together and sorting this out. I'm glad that we have been able to get this sorted so we don't have this coming up again in the future. Like I said, you know, I disagreed with it at the time, and I still do. I disagree with that. We sidestepped things and got away with it. I won't go into it any further than that, but I am pleased that we have got this review. I'm pleased that this has now been put into it, so it does stop things like this from happening again and putting mud on the face of the council. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Helen, for acknowledging all the hard work that's gone into it by our staff. Really appreciate that. Jonathan?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I think what's really important to say is that this isn't just an ad hoc piece of work. Obviously, it was based on what was said by the resolution came out of full council, but also if you look at things like the people strategy, which has gone through this committee, and the various other like skills development and employee opportunity strategy, it's all part of that same piece of work about how you've got to be constantly reviewing how you're review. I think, and the point you made about anonymising why we do it, and even I can give an example for a manager I recruited. When I first saw it, I thought their experience was way too much for the role. But I thought I was more curious, and I thought, you know what, I will bring them in. Actually, there was reasons why they wanted to, in effect, take a downward step to go up again. And if I just thought, you know what, the way to experience, it'd be waste time interview. They obviously got the wrong end of the stick. I wanted to took them on, and they're absolutely spot on in terms of delivering for me. So I think it does show, from my point, just a first experience, I think that would be really good. I think also we should highlight some of the work that our team have done recently. So, for example, went to a job fair in Bassetlaw. I know in terms of look at recruitment to make sure that we are looking to recruit from all parts of the county there, which I think Sheila's raised before as well about Wood Up and Bassetlaw, so that's important. Also our graduates as well, who ran a graduate recruitment event, and they were really proud of it because straight away they were on LinkedIn, all these photos saying how great work they'd done and wanted to, which was actually great to see because it's really, they didn't just do it because they thought they had to do it, because graduates, they really wanted to do it and to showcase the graduate scheme and what they got out of it and to encourage everyone else. And knowing there's certain people on that stall, I think no one would have got away with a half-hour chat about why they should do it. I think that'll be absolutely spot on, and probably Jill's got about 500 applicants after that, but it's really great to see. So again, to reiterate the comments, to thank the team for doing the work they have to continue work to review how we're recruiting and make sure we get the best people into the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. Errol?
Thank you, Chair. And I do acknowledge your comments you made earlier on about why we're here in this particular report anyway. And it's clearly a little bit too late for, in this instance, to do anything about what happened previously. So we are where we are, basically. We did appoint somebody unlawful, but the suggestion that adding some words to the personal handbook will change it. I'm not sure whether or not that that's going to do anything, because unless it's the decision that we made before is legally challenged, then we are where we are on that one. So we leave that one alone for now. But one other thing I think that's happened, which is a really good example, is that where there's a political will to change things, it can happen, and it can happen very quickly. So that's one good thing that came from it. I noticed a reference in paragraph 4 of the Equalities Act plan there. It says that you're going to review and refresh the published equality objectives as required every 4 years. I think there's a public duty, to do that, isn't it? I'm not sure if it's a public duty to do that, to refresh it all the time or not. Anyway, so I think this undertaking this work is also part of the new people strategy. So you have to do that according to the action plan. So I think the action plan said something about you need to have completed this work by March this year. Yeah, so how close are we to seeing that? Sort of whatever come from that review or action plan. Alongside the refreshed objectives, will we see sort of quantitative data on how we are moving to accomplish these objectives. For example, in Objective 1, we talked about maintain and improve the council workforce representation, i.e. sex, gender, disability, sexual orientation, etc., each year. Can we have data on the last 4 years to evidence whether we are moving to meet these objectives or not? And can we have data to demonstrate our representation have changed out, not just in terms of people joining the organization, but also people, particularly people leaving the organizations? Have we asked whether it's about representation, or is it discriminatory practice that are key issues why these people are leaving the organization? Have we asked those questions or not? How do we do that? Do we do a sort of exit interview, so for example, to find out why people are leaving? Can we also see changes in relation to Objective 1 by job role to understand where the objective has progressed? Has it stood still? Has it regressed by job role significantly, in particular to hierarchy of roles, for example, such as middle managers and upper management in the organization? That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Errol. I'll bring Jill back in again, if I may. Please, Jill.
I'll try to capture all the answers in that, because there's a lot in there, Councillor Henry. So, first point, your anxiety that just putting a sentence in the handbook, it's not just that, it's system change. We use an e-recruitment system. It's now one of the standard questions asked of managers that they have to check, and they can't progress with their recruitment if they can't answer that. So it's built into the system to ensure, unless somebody is being deliberately dishonest, they cannot find a way through that. So hopefully that offers you the necessary reassurance. Obviously, we've got to put it in the policy, and we'll put it in the guidance, and it'll be in the training for managers. So it's a belt and braces approach, but clearly this was the easiest thing to copy to attach to the report. So we've not brought you a demo of the proposed changes to the system. Yes, we do offer people the opportunity to complete exit questionnaires and indeed to have an exit interview, either with their line manager or with a member of the HR community if they would prefer, because sometimes that depends on the circumstances people are leaving us. Many people don't take us up on that, and we've done some targeted work both in children's and in parts of adults to address that. I think you asked about comparator data. Well, we do annually provide our workforce profile data to this committee. I think we agreed last year that we would simplify that because of the work required in the midst of a pandemic. The new governance system probably requires us to think about how we share that information moving forward, but that does give some trend analysis in terms of numbers. Clearly that always relies on what people are prepared to share with us, because it's not something that the organisation put in the system. It is for individuals to state what their relevant protected characteristic is on the BMS system. And the advice we've received from various organisations, it's best to ask people to share than to adopt that more prescriptive approach. And in terms of comparator data, whilst we do have some comparator data, and again that has been shared in various workforce resource reports and workforce profile reports, because of things like workforce remodelling in adults and structural changes in other parts of the organisation, it is quite difficult, other than at a basic level, to look at the comparator data for a consistent period where things might have stayed the same. So we can look at that in terms, but we need to be careful it's not just a tokenistic numbers game.
On brain margin, you're always welcome to come back, Errol, you know that.
Let's just add a little bit onto that. So I think your point about the new reporting regime was what I heard you asking about. So obviously there will be a performance measuring and reporting regime under a cabinet structure. It will just be different to what it is under a committee structure. So we wouldn't be able to bring reports here because personnel committee will not exist, but there will still be the data that we are legally obliged to collate, so the workforce profile data, and within that trend data, and you made the point about measuring progress and being able to do that. So that will still be coming in, but probably to cabinet. So we're still developing our performance framework in a new governance structure. So that's a piece of work that's ongoing. The second thing I'd say to you, and I don't know if you cited on this, Councillor Henry, is we're part of a pilot on the workforce race equality standard. So, and that's absolutely about the metrics, because that's got 9 metrics that you can measure, and for the exact purposes that you've set out. You can baseline your position now, you can then measure your position at a point in the future, so you can measure progress. It's got predetermined targets and measures. We have agreed to pilot that. The NHS are driving that programme, and originally we were offered to do it in adults. We've chosen to expand that to children's, and now are expanding it across the whole council. So that's a measure of our commitment to that and the importance we attach to that, because we want to have that data for the whole council. So that's a real step forward, and as far as I'm aware, we're the only people who are part of that national pilot who are doing that across the whole council. So that's a really positive thing, and that absolutely will give us the data and the measurements we want. The conversations we've also had with colleagues, so with Taraj, who's leading on that piece of work, is about actually back to some of the softer stuff, because once you've got your data, what does it feel like? What is it actually like? What's your or my experience? So we're going to then try and overlay some of that other stuff on top of that. So I think that's a really positive development.
I knew you'd come back, Errol. Please do.
Yes, thank you very much for that. That it's good to hear both answers really from that. But what I was wondering as well is that when people leave the organization, they have an opportunity, but you said they don't always take that up. Do we do anything to encourage them to ask, to tell us about their experiences and why they're leaving? Because sometimes it's not necessarily the culture within the organization. It could be the workload, it could be management pressures, it could be bullying, it could be all sorts of stuff that they don't always tell you when they're employed by the authority. When they've left, they don't have a responsibility as such, so they can tell you then more freer. Do you do that or not?
We don't contact every member of staff who leaves the organisation to ask, but there are other indicators that we can look at as to why people. So, there is a reason for people leaving the organisation required to be input into BMS. That's just one indicator. What people say if they take up the opportunity for an exit interview is another. Where they're going, where we receive reference requests, is another. Because there's a number of negative reasons why people leave an organisation. There are many positive ones, like career development, more money, a change of location in the country. So all these things are factored into, but we don't have a uniform one-size-fits-all approach, because we'd rather gather quality information. Because if say suddenly 5 people left the HR team, I'm guessing Marge would say, Jill, what's happening? What's going on? You know, bearing in mind we've got relatively stable turnover. And similarly, we would look at that because we do look at leaver data and where that's happening. So we know in certain areas why people are leaving. Some of it is because other organisations local to us pay more, or you know, and we factor all that into what our value proposition for our future and current workforce is going to be, because it isn't just money. There are many other reasons, as you've alluded to, in terms of how you're treated when you're employed, what your workload's like. Do you feel trusted? Do you feel empowered? Do you have a reasonable workload? All those things factor into a very complex mix of why people choose to work for an organisation, or indeed choose to leave an organisation.
Errol, this morning at the Leadership Development Programme, an employee of Nottingham County Council raised just that, basically, people are leaving. And our staff, and they are leaving, we know they are leaving, it's factually correct, they're leaving, as Jill has already said, for a variety of different reasons. But we want to understand more about that. And Anthony gave a clear commitment this morning. He wants, with the rest of the team and members, to get a greater understanding of that. We spent a lot of time working with our staff. We spent a lot of time, and Jill in particular, on graduates and across the county on apprentices. We don't want to lose our people who are, as I keep on saying, goodness knows how many times you've heard me say this, Errol, they are our biggest and best asset. One person leaving is one person too many. We will get a better understanding, just to give you reassurance on that, we will. And that's a clear commitment given here today. It was given to the member of staff who raised it this morning by Anthony, by Marge, and by Jill, myself and Jonathan, and we give the same commitment here to this afternoon to you. Thank you.
Just one last say that.
No, that's what we're here for. Go for it.
I'm encouraged, really. I'm encouraged to see and to hear what's been said this afternoon, sorry, and to hear you talk about understanding what's going on, and once you understand what's going on, then you can rectify what's happening, basically. So I'm encouraged by that. So, but I'll be keeping an eye on it, because I've heard this been said many a year. I mean, I worked in this organization for many years, and I'm now back in as a councillor, and I've heard it many times. So I'm going to keep an eye on this bit whilst I'm here anyway, in the next 3 years at least, to see where we're going to progress this. Okay? So, and I think my colleagues here, I hope we keep an eye on it as well whilst we're moving forward. But it's encouraging to hear what you're saying, Jill and Marge. It's really good to hear, and Chairman, about what we're trying to do to understand what's going on.
Errol, I think I know you well enough to know you won't let me. You only let me forget what I said this morning, and you will continue to remind me, and you make checks, which is right, exactly what you should be doing. Totally agree with that. Thank you. Right, is there anything else to be said? Okay. In which case, tell me notes. I'll move to the vote, please. You have the recommendations, can't you, which I read, which we alluded to earlier on. All those in favour of it? Thank you, and thank you very much for your very valid contributions. It's really appreciated. Salary sacrifice scheme, and warm welcome to Mark Adams at the back, who's asked for if he could speak at today's meeting. And you're right, I said no, he couldn't. No, I didn't say that. Sorry, sir, I said he could. So yes, we look. Yeah. So we look forward to hearing from you later on, Mike. You're very welcome indeed. Can I introduce the report, please, and formally move the recommendations on page 30 of the agenda? Do I have a seconder?
Happy second, Chairman.
Thank you ever so much. Let me say, Sarah's put an awful lot of work into this, and I'm sure, Mike, you would agree with that, because you've been very close to it. I know you have. And there's been lots of dialogue, I know, with me and other members here. So before you even start, thank you for all your hard work. Over to you.
Sorry, Chair, can I just come in really quick, just for a point of clarification from Marge? On page 36.8, it does say that members and staff could get a financial benefit from this. Do we need to do a blanket interest in this? No. Right, okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. No, not at all.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Good afternoon, everybody. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval from Personnel Committee to the implementation of a salary sacrifice car lease scheme. As members will be aware, the Nottinghamshire Plan sets out a clear and ambitious vision for the future of Nottinghamshire, and over the next 10 years, working towards a healthier, prosperous and greener future. One of the strands is to reduce the county's impact on the environment. To support this and the Council's ambition to become carbon neutral by 2030, we are seeking approval to implement a salary sacrifice car lease scheme, enabling employees and members to, via salary sacrifice or an allowance waiver, access to electric and hybrid vehicles. The scheme will also support the Council's people strategy and further enhance the employment benefits package offered. NCC have partnered with Tusker, who already provide schemes to a large number of private and public sector clients, and there are already existing employees who have experience of having leased a car through the Tusker scheme. Eligible employees who decide to join the scheme will be able to configure a brand new car, complete with insurance, road tax, replacement tyres, servicing and maintenance, as well as breakdown cover, in return for reducing their salary via an HMRC-approved salary sacrifice scheme. The scheme will also be open to members via an allowance waiver agreement. The scheme will provide access to low-emission vehicles, and we have set a limit on emissions of 75 grams per kilometre travelled. Leasing a car through salary sacrifice means that employees could benefit from a range of savings as detailed in the report. An employer would also benefit from reductions in employer contributions to things such as national insurance and pension contributions. Working with Tusker, a portal has been built which will enable individuals to register and, according to their salary or allowance, obtain quotes for cars within their band of salary sacrifice. Once selected, the selection is then reviewed and signed off by the Council and then ordered by Tusker. We need to be clear with individuals that this is a long-term financial commitment, and anyone entering the scheme should ensure they have read and understood all the terms and conditions prior to signing the agreement and considered all of their current financial commitments. A comms plan has been developed and an intranet landing page which will provide extensive FAQs. I think to date we've got 80 FAQs that we are grouping together under certain headings such as eligibility. What does salary sacrifice mean? What comes with my car? What doesn't come with my car? What are some of the protections in place if I choose to go on maternity, redundancy, those types of things. Individuals will also have information on how to contact Tuska's customer service team. The financial and HR implications are set out in the report, and we're looking for an official launch date of next Thursday, the 17th of March. So this afternoon, the recommendations, we are seeking approval from members to implement a salary sacrifice car lease scheme and for a review to be undertaken after the scheme has been operational for 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. There's quite a lot to be said later on, but I'll hold back and I'll throw it up to the floor first. John. Oh, sorry. You. I've lost your name for
it's
a
all
minute.
right.
It'll have to be you.
Just you, it's fine.
Sorry, John.
No, it's fine. And I'm just opening on my phone so I can see exactly. So it's interesting, isn't it? We looked at this scheme. Councillor Mike Adams had made the green champion for Nottinghamshire. We had this plan where we wanted to go green, and who would have known that a year ago we would now be looking at £2 a litre that is being talked about in the press, £2 a litre in fuel. We've got invasion in Ukraine from Russia. We're talking about fuel suspensions across Europe. Who would have thought it? Personally, what I like about this scheme is it gives officers and members and people that work for the council options. This is an option. You can look at it. If it suits you, then great. If it doesn't, then maybe something else. But it gives them options. And with the fuel situation, in my opinion, this is a great option for people that work for this council. And I would just like to say a big congratulations to Mike Adams. It was him and the council that have worked on this plan going forward. But in fairness, we all know how hard Mike and Sarah have been working on it. So congratulations for them both.
I will totally applaud this. Congratulations for Sarah. As to Mike Adams, I'm not sure about that one. No, I agree. I do agree. Sheila.
I welcome this and I wish it had happened 25 years ago.
Why 25 years? What's wrong with you, Sheila? It's happening now.
I think it's really exciting, but I have a problem living so far away. But I think it's really a good thing.
Sarah doesn't tell you the car drives itself now as well. Anyone else? Mike.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you very much to enabling me to address the committee today. Yeah, it's really exciting to see this here today, and it's incredibly important to me that if we are, as an organisation, to talk the talk of being net zero and talk the talk of a better way of running this county with lower emissions and improving both our children's futures as well as improving our own lives, that we walk the walk as well. And this scheme for me was all about walking the walk. It's all about saying that actually, not just do we want to see the council services improve, but we want to actually show you that, you know, we back that. And I think that's really, really important. We're changing the way the council works, as we've said, with the results of surveys, which have led to better buildings, LED lighting in street columns, electric buses, tree plantings to help sequestration. And as we all know, climate change is a challenge that will meet us all at some point, and has met many already across the world and in this country. Now, as with most committees in this council, I end up getting involved somehow along this journey. And I thank you, Gordon, for your help with this, and also thank you to Sarah for the 80 FAQs, if nothing else. But no, I mean, amazing work put together to get this from an idea to a launched, or in the process of launched, hopefully with this committee approval today. I think it's, from an employee perspective as well, we give it, you know, it's an opportunity for employees to get more benefits for working for this council, which is really important as we look to employ more people, as the, you know, as we've talked about before, with the, you know, the jobs that are required to be filled within this council. We offer people a way to journey to work cheaper, and another positive reason for working for this council. As Councillor Lee rightly pointed out, bills are going up. There's no two ways about that. Electricity actually is the one that's gone up the least so far out of all of them. And we are seeing unbelievable prices at the pumps. And it's really important that we can help people mitigate that as well. So this scheme, again, with its ability to get access to EVs, which, let's be completely honest, are incredibly expensive to buy. And there's no two ways about it. The fact that this scheme comes with an insurance built in, the fact this scheme comes with maintenance, tyres even, which when I've said that to people, have been shocked that that's an addition to it, but an incredibly useful one all the same. So, yeah, I'm chuffed to bits it's here. I'm chuffed to bits we're launching it in a week's time. I really hope you all get behind it. And yeah, I honestly just want to thank so much for all the work that's gone into it. And I look forward to seeing this as an active scheme in the council. And I look forward to driving up to County Hall and seeing an array of EVs across the front, demonstrating all of our concerns for our climate and our environment moving forward. Thank you.
You've got your bubble car lined up already, have you? Good. I'm pleased to hear it. Errol.
Thank you, Chair. I like his excitement. It's good. Yeah, we welcome the scheme. It's a fantastic idea. I just hope it works and pray to God that it works. The only thing I was going to ask is about if I was to go on that scheme, and at my house I haven't got the.
You're talking about as a councillor, right?
Yeah, well, yes, as a councillor, I haven't got the point at home. What would we do? Am I responsible for putting that electric point in, or will it be part of that package?
You would be personally responsible for putting your own point in at home if you live in a detached dwelling or a semi-detached. If you live in an apartment, that type of dwelling, then there is a government grant that would give you £350 towards the installation of a point. Obviously, there are an increasing number of points around the county. So obviously, there are a couple in the car park here, an increasing number at supermarkets, in car parks, etc. They are springing up all the time. And I think certainly one of the things we've looked at from a comms perspective is to have a look at updating the map that is held on our website with details of all the additional electric points as they come on stream as well.
I'm assuming so. That'll be included with the question and answers, which you're drawing up as well.
Yes, that'll be number 81.
Oh. She hasn't really stepped in. What's 43, by the way? Helen, sorry, I'll come back to you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just two really quick points. My first one is to come on to the last bit that you've just said about doing a spreadsheet of map of where all ports are. You, as part of that, will you be liaising with the district councils? Because I know we've had quite a few in Ashfield installed in different places. So it might be worth just liaising with the district and boroughs. Because like we've had some in our council car parks and in our leisure centre car parks and things. So it might be worth just liaising with them and doing it as an overall thing. But the other thing, I mean, I live in a terrace property. I know there's nothing at the moment about electric points and terraced houses. Do we know if there's anything coming forward about helping? Because like in Ashfield, we do have a vast number of terraced streets. I don't drive, so it doesn't affect me in the slightest. But I have had people contact me saying the council planning on doing, or the government, anything to help people in terraced properties getting electric vehicles with electric charging points. Is there anything around that? Sorry.
I'm advised my colleague to my left, Mr. Adams, has an answer for you.
I have, yes, hello. Yes, we've got trials at the moment which are about to take place as part of the Transport and Environment Committee's work to test the actual, exactly what you just said. So enabling people in terraced properties, because you're absolutely right. If we're going to transform you know, the way that we operate in that respect, everybody's got to be included for the journey in every type of house, you know, and in every situation. There's, you know, there's terrace house in many parts that make it difficult because of the tripping hazards and things like that, like you've rightly said. And the trials they're doing is to actually embed it into the ground. Again, you would have to, I don't think there's any help out there as it stands. You'd have to pay for that yourself, but there are permits being issued, or there will be, once this trial's completed, permits being issued to enable you to do that. So that will be available. There are charge points at County Hall as well as in lots of parks and councils and things like that. But you don't tell anyone because you want to use it. Just on the other thing. Yeah, well, I was going to say, there's actually an app. That's what I was going to say.
You still understand that?
Called Charge Map, which is, you know, I don't know if I'm, but it's an app that you can get from both app stores, both the Apple and the Android App Store. And you type a postcode in and it will tell you what's your nearest charge point. So
It's actually even better than that. You know, I was on Saturday looking at an electric vehicle, and you just Google it, and it's using the GPS. It just tells you where the nearest within and the number of miles to 6 different charging points.
There you are, Michael. A lot to learn you have.
Sorry to show you off.
You just have. Absolutely. Look, please read everything you get very, very carefully. This is not for everyone. It's been said right at the beginning. There's no pressure to go into the scheme. The choice is yours. As Mike says, this is the way forward. It's being offered to our employees, being offered to our members. But do read every single piece of paper you'll get, not piece of paper, everything you get electronically from Sarah, very, very carefully. There will be a media release on that. Ashley's in the corner. We've been working very closely with Sarah on that, so that it goes on internally. There will be the number 81 we're up to. Is it a question and answers? Lot to read, lot to digest. You'll be given access on the 17th to the link. By all means, please do, in fact, get as much information you can from testers. It's got to be right for you. I can't say that strongly enough. Don't enter into it unless you've done all your research very, very carefully. Richard.
Thanks, Chairman. I'm not going to add too much to this, other than to say that VIA, which is obviously our highways operator, is licensed to install electric vehicle charging points on domestic premises. Yeah.
Okay.
So it might be an idea if we can't link up and try and have a one click, because it's a trusted brand, especially to our employees who know who they are. Rather than have the hassle of trying to find somebody to install one of these things. Click on the website when you've ordered your car and VIA will come round and wire you up.
There we are. Of course, it goes without saying, Richard. This has been live streamed, okay? No, seriously, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Sorry, Sheila, you can come.
Insurance.
It's included.
It's included, but is it because I have to buy business insurance? That's why I'm asking.
Over to Sarah.
Councillor Place, yes, it is, because you're taking it either as a member or as an employee. It does include business insurance. You can add other family members to that insurance as well. If your child wants to learn to drive, you can add that. Obviously, there are additional charges there.
That one out.
I think probably the other thing to say is an employee doesn't actually have to be somebody who can drive themselves. They may have a carer or somebody that brings them to work, so they can choose to take the car, take the salary sacrifice, and enable somebody else to have the use of that car, but they're still benefiting from it as well. So it is all encompassing. Okay.
Just one question, Chair. The terms of lease, is it laid out in the document already, or would you be able to say that here?
Question and answers, 81 of them. We'll cover all you're looking for. And look, it may well be you come up with something which isn't there. I think it's highly, highly unlikely. But Sarah will answer the questions for you. We've got to help and support there. We don't want anyone to enter this thing unless you're absolutely sure it's for you. So we just try to cover all eventualities, every permutation possible.
Yeah, so there are a number of lease terms. So they start at 24 months, 30, 36, 42 and 48 months.
Yes, Mike.
Thank you. Sarah, is it worth just mentioning the lifestyle guarantee as well? Thank you.
See what you started there, Errol. It's
Um,
okay, no, not a problem.
There are a series of what are called lifestyle protections in place as well with Tusker, because clearly you're entering to a long-term financial commitment, and you know life events do occur. So, so for example. You may have to return the car before the end of the lease term. So if you resign, unfortunately, people do die in service or die in office. So there is a protection there to enable the car to be returned. People choose to take redundancy, so there's elements of protection in place. There will be some people who choose to want to give the car back earlier than the end of the lease that don't meet some of those particular lifestyle protections, so they may have to pay a termination charge. But all of those are looked at on an individual basis. With Tusker, and obviously we will continue an ongoing account style meeting with Tusker. We will get the final approval, so we will be monitoring certainly over this next 12 months who's registered, what sort of numbers are then converting into orders, what sorts of cars are being taken, have we had any of the instance where we've had to apply a lifestyle protection. So I think because Tusker are in over 580 other organisations, then this is a well tried and tested scheme. It is important to note that we will be the first council that is opening up the scheme to their members. There is another council that's slightly behind us now, but we will be the first to allow members to waiver their allowance. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's given you a fairly comprehensive overview, but you'll get more information over the next few days, certainly by the 16th of next month, 17th of this month. Yeah. Have you any idea at this stage, Sarah, when the question and answers are likely to come out to members in advance of the launch date?
I'm looking at Ashley. I think we thought we would launch everything on the 17th, didn't we? Yeah.
The whole lot on the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to...
Then Ashley and I are having 2
to round
weeks
up the
holiday.
questions, yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly, not contactable at all. Yeah, absolutely. Right, thank you. No more questions. Once more, thank you again, Sarah, and I'm sure your phone will be very busy. Thank you. In that case, can we just move to the vote? There's no further questions. Everyone support, please show. Yep. And we're just going to the vote, okay? That's all right. Thank you. What was said? You missed that because you're out of the room, by Richard about Vibe providing a service to install charging points in your home. It's not free. It is a cost. But I wasn't aware of that, so thank you, Richard, for that. I thought I'd mention to you because you raised a question earlier on about charging points. Right, thank you. I think we're all in favour of that. So it's good. Thank you. And finally, the work programme. Just to introduce the work programme, as you're aware, this will be the final meeting in April under the present committee structure. Obviously, there are changes afoot. We'll really know what those are when we know ourselves what they are. But otherwise, we just introduce the work programme as it says on there. As you can see, there's quite a lot to get through the next one. I'm particularly looking forward to some with all of those things. But the graduate programme, we should have graduates in attendance update. Sorry, you wanted something on them. Jill, please.
I think we discussed broadening that out to be an update on the skills development and employment opportunity strategy, because in terms of the graduates, whilst yes, they will be in attendance, or some of them,
yeah.
The current cohort will just be at the stage of changing their placements, and we'll just be launching the graduate recruitment programme. So to have a broader focus on the early stages of delivery in terms of the strategy, might you more interesting.
Yeah, very much so. It's this month. The next you've got your recruitment, isn't it? March. Yeah. So we got more graduates hopefully joining us before long. Good news all round. So thank you very much, and thank you all of those this afternoon for your presence and attendance. Thank you. Thanks.